Can I add one thing, and that is about President Trump, because you came in office in January. On the 12th of February, you had your first phone call with Putin. I think you did exactly what I hoped you would do. That is breaking the deadlock, starting the conversation, because you have to test him. I know Putin very well from the days when I was Prime Minister in the Netherlands. You have to test him. And you did this, and you really gave him a chance to be serious, to get to the table, to start negotiations. Steve Witkoff, Marco Rubio, we all tried to help you. But you've now come to a point where you say, well, hey...
We actually thought we had probably 4 times a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, you were called and you said, this looks good.
Yeah.
And then the deal wouldn't happen because bombs would be thrown out that night and you'd say, we're not making any deals. It was like...
But you breaking the deadlock was crucial because you had to start that process. And you were the only one who was able to do that.
I think we'll get it done.
This is my video update on this Tuesday afternoon, July the 15th, coming to you from Moscow. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the Trump announcement, which came in yesterday afternoon, my time, morning time, morning midday time in the United States, as Trump was in a meeting with NATO CEO Mark Rutte. Rutte traveled to DC to meet with his daddy, Daddy Trump. And they were speaking to the media, and Trump announced his plans for Russia, the big Russia announcement. That is what we got yesterday. And what was this big announcement? I'm sure everyone already knows what Trump announced. He said that he is giving Russia 50 days to sort out Project Ukraine. He didn't really get into any details as to what exactly he expects from Russia, from Putin, to be sorted out in 50 days, but 50 days to get to some sort of an agreement or a deal or a ceasefire or whatever when it comes to Project Ukraine. And if in 50 days nothing is happening, then maybe 100% tariffs on Russia and 100% secondary tariffs on countries that do business with Russia, China, India, Turkey, etc. Not the Lindsey Graham 500% bone-crushing sanctions. Those bone-crushing sanctions, that bill from Lindsey Graham has now been put on pause, according to Senator Toom. He put out a statement after Trump announced his plan for tariffs on Russia after this 50-day ultimatum. Toom said that now that Trump has decided to handle this on his own as President of the United States, he is going to put the Lindsey Graham bill on pause. So that was the announcement coming from the Senate. Trump also announced, with Rutte sitting next to him, that he is going to be moving forward with this NATO weapons scheme. The United States is going to sell weapons to NATO, not give weapons like what Biden was doing, but they are going to sell weapons to NATO, and NATO is going to give those weapons to Project Ukraine. And Rutte was all for this. Man, was Rutte doing some major butt kissing during this trip to DC. Every time Rutte is meeting with Trump or talking about Trump, the butt kissing gets more and more and more from the NATO CEO. But yeah, he's all on board with some sort of a weapons purchase from the United States and the weapons going to Project Ukraine. The interesting part about this scheme is that it doesn't really make much sense, to be quite honest. I can see NATO member states having to purchase weapons from the United States, or approaching the United States to purchase weapons, and then sending those weapons to Ukraine. but I don't think NATO is authorized to do such a thing. NATO is an alliance of members, and those members, they contribute to NATO, but NATO is not really in the business as an alliance to purchase weapons from another alliance member. Actually, let's go. Which way should we go? Let's go this way. I mean, that's not really what NATO does, is it? They don't purchase weapons as an alliance. I don't know. The whole thing seems very, very shady. I guess that's the purpose of all of this, right? The purpose to this entire thing is for it to be shady, because if you did it the right way, which is that NATO member states would approach the United States, like for example, Greece. Let's just use Greece as an example. Greece would approach the United States. It would say, okay, US, I want to purchase X amount of weapons. And then Greece would purchase those weapons. The parliament, I imagine the Greek parliament or whatever, would have to sign off on this. The Greek government, the parliament, they would have to vote on this, sign off on this, and then the weapons would go to Project Ukraine, and that would have some sort of a procedure inside of Greece. That would usually be the normal way that something like this would go down. But NATO as an alliance, as Mark Rutte, purchasing weapons from alliance member the United States and then sending those weapons to Ukraine is very, very shady, man. Very shady. But that's the point to all of this. I'm starting to take a look at what Trump announced and what's going on, and I think they want this to be shady. They want to avoid having to go through the member states' parliaments and procedures. They want to avoid that. They want to avoid having to go through any EU procedures or parliaments or anything like that. And NATO's a good vehicle to keep everything hidden and under wraps, right? So you can launder the weapons to Project Ukraine. That's why they're doing this whole NATO scheme, in my opinion. But anyway, that's the scheme that they've come up with. Rutte's on board. Trump is touting this as a very big America First victory. And as far as the weapons that are going to be sent to Project Ukraine, we don't really know, to be quite honest. There weren't many details as far as what weapons systems will be delivered will be sold to NATO and then go to Project Ukraine. But the fact of the matter is that all of the NATO members are short on weapons, and most of the NATO members have no money, right? They have no money, the NATO members, to give to NATO, so that NATO can then purchase the weapons which the United States and other NATO members just don't have to give to Project Ukraine. So not much money, not many weapons to give, but that's the plan. Doesn't seem like it's a very well thought out plan coming from the Trump administration. But actually this plan was floated to Trump by Macron, Stammer, and Zelensky. That's how the story goes. Zelensky met with Trump. He was advised by Macron and Stammer to pitch this NATO purchasing scheme to Trump, and Trump went for it. So that was the big announcement from yesterday. It's a plan. Doesn't seem like it's a very well thought out plan, but it's a plan nonetheless, I guess. Oh boy. So what Trump did with the 50 days, in my opinion, this 50-day ultimatum, is that he bought some time for himself so that he can try to negotiate something with Lindsey Graham. A lot of people are saying this is an ultimatum to Russia or to Putin. Not at all. Not at all. Russia is completely unfazed with this 50-day ultimatum. Medvedev actually put out a post saying as much. The ultimatum does not really scare or worry or bother Trump or bother Russia whatsoever. Medvedev posted, Trump issued a theatrical ultimatum to the Kremlin. The world shuddered, expecting the consequences. Belligerent Europe was disappointed. Russia didn't care. That is what Medvedev posted. But what this 50-day ultimatum is really about is giving Trump 50 days to negotiate something with the neocons, with Lindsey Graham, and with Dick Blumenthal. That's what this is really about. Because Trump, he should have told Lindsey Graham when he first came up with this 500% bone-crushing sanctions dumb idea. He should have told Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal, forget about it. This is stupid. It's going to wreck the U.S. economy. I'm not going to do it. It's just dumb. But he didn't do that. He encouraged Graham. Most likely, he was encouraging Graham and going along with it because back when Graham first floated this out, Graham was probably leveraging the BBB, the Build Back Better, Big Beautiful Bill vote. And he was probably holding that against Trump, holding that up against Trump. And so Trump said, okay, I'll support your bone-crushing sanctions idea, but you need to support me on the BBB. So that's probably what happened back when this was first floated out there. But the BBB has now passed, and Trump, he needed a way to get some leverage over Graham, or at least something so that he could buy some time so that he can negotiate something with Graham. Not so much about escalating with Russia or getting weapons to Russia or anything like that, getting weapons to Ukraine or anything like that. He's more concerned about the economic fallout that 100% or 500% or whatever percent tariffs will have on the U.S. Economy. So that's what I think is going on, and I think it's indicated by Senator Toome coming out and saying, okay, we'll pause Graham's bill because Trump has already presented his own tariff plan, right? It's Trump circumventing, short-circuiting Lindsey Graham's bone-crushing sanctions bill and giving him 50 days to now discuss with Lindsey Graham, how do we walk this back? Because we know that this would not be good for the U.S. economy. And I imagine what Graham is going to tell Trump, and I discussed this with Alexander in a video that will be published on the Duran. I imagine what Graham is going to tell Trump is look, you need to support me in the next elections big time. And if you support me big time, then I will also just forget about the bone-crushing sanctions. But you also need to escalate when it comes to Project Ukraine. I imagine that's going to be the deal that they're going to come up with in 50 days. So really, it's about giving Trump time and space so he can figure out how to deal with the neocons when it comes to Project Ukraine. At least when it comes to Project Ukraine from a tariff sanctions point of view, and not so much about pressuring Putin or Russia. That's what the 50 days is all about. And if he can't figure it out in 50 days, he'll extend it another 50 days, and he'll extend it another 50 days until he figures things out with the neocons and Lindsey Graham. Because what Trump definitely does not want to see happen, what the White House does not want to see happen, is they don't want to see the U.S. economy go bye-bye. And that's what these tariffs, or these sanctions, whatever you want to call them. Their sanctions is what they are. Tariff sanctions, there's no difference anymore. That's what these sanctions would do. That's what these tariffs would do. So anyway, the weapons that they are talking about, we have no idea what those weapons are going to be. We're hearing artillery shells. We're hearing long-range missiles, offensive weapons, definitely Patriots. They're talking about Patriots. Trump made a very strange statement. He said that a country has 17 Patriot systems, like full systems, batteries, complete systems, that they're going to send to Ukraine. And everyone's scratching their head saying, who's this country? Is it the United States? Because the United States has something like 50 or 60 Patriots, but they're not going to part with 1/3 of their Patriot systems to hand them to the Green Goblin. So what is the country that Trump is talking about? Germany. Germany has said that they're not going to give any Patriots to Project Ukraine, though Germany, Pistorius, met with Pete Hegseth, and he seems to be saying, okay, maybe we'll give 2 or 3 Patriot systems to Ukraine. So Germany's kind of flip-flopping on this issue. But the 17, that 17 number, no one really knows what Trump is talking about. He's gonna start asking countries, allies, vassals. He's gonna start asking vassals. Will you be willing to get rid of your Patriots and give them to Project Ukraine, and we'll get you new Patriots in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line? That's basically what the ask is going to be. That's what the order is going to be from the president. So we got the Patriots thing. That's one of the weapon systems that they're going to try to figure out how to get to Project Ukraine. Who said artillery shells? The offensive weapons. That's getting a lot of discussion, a lot of talk about what offensive weapons are going to be sent to the Green Goblin, Moscow traffic. So, ATACMS are being discussed, but the ATACMS were not very effective under Biden. I think Biden gave Zelensky something like, I want to say 500 ATACMS, and the Russians countered them fairly effectively, the ATACMS. They did some damage in the beginning, but the Russian military got on top of it pretty quickly, and the ATACMS were pretty useless. But they're talking about ATACMS with a longer range. They're talking about the JASSM, the JASSMs. They're talking about those missiles, which Biden also approved, and from what my understanding is that they can be delivered to Ukraine very quickly. So there's talk about the JSAMs, which also have a fairly long range, though I don't think any of these missiles can reach Moscow. But those are the other long-range missiles, the Taurus missiles, which Pistorius, once again, as he was in the United States meeting with Hegseth, he told the Financial Times, Germany's not going to, well, we're getting talk that Germany's going to give up Patriots, and then we're getting talk that Germany's not going to give up their Patriots anyway. He's told the Financial Times, Pistorius, about the Taurus missiles. There are going to be no Taurus missiles going to Project Ukraine. But we all know that this is a misdirection from Mr. Pistorius. I think everyone understands that the joint venture that Ukraine and Germany have with these long-range missiles, that a German general said will be delivered to Ukraine by the end of the month. These missiles that Germany and Ukraine are jointly working on, that these missiles are very, very similar to the Taurus missiles, very, very similar to the Taurus, but just don't call them a Taurus missile. Just call them a Green Goblin Ukraine long-range missile, because it's been done in cooperation with Germany, the manufacturing of these missiles, and they would be delivered at the end of the month anyway. Pistorius is saying no Taurus missiles, but we understand that is going to be this Taurus rebrand. So anyway, those are the other offensive missiles, and then we get to the main point of the offensive weapons talk, and this is coming from the Washington Post's David Ignatius, who posted an article. And David Ignatius, he is very much someone who is very tuned into the CIA. When Ignatius talks, when Ignatius writes, you are getting the perspective and the intel and the secrets of the CIA. and he posted an article, and I think I have it bookmarked. Man, I know I have it bookmarked. I can never find the articles that I want to read. Let's see here. Anyway, David Ignatius talks about how Trump is escalating in order to de-escalate. Here it is. Opinion. In squeezing Putin, Trump escalates to de-escalate, according to Ignatius. And Ignatius brings up in this article the Tomahawk missile. This is a huge revelation, and an absolutely frightening and dangerous revelation from Ignatius. Let me just read you what he says in this article. Trump decided to escalate for 3 reasons, according to a source familiar with administration discussions. First, he believed that Putin was disrespecting him, feigning a readiness to make peace but ignoring the U.S. president's call for a ceasefire. Second, he saw the efficacy of U.S. military power in the use of B-2 bombers and Tomahawk missiles against Iran. And third, he thought Putin would only negotiate if threatened with greater force. As the Russians like to say, Trump decided to escalate to de-escalate. And then the article says, Trump also considered sending Tomahawk cruise missiles, the same weapons fired against Iranian targets last month. If fired from Ukraine, these could hit Moscow and St. Petersburg. And they were included in discussions as late as Friday, but the Tomahawks are off the delivery list for now, I'm told. They could be deployed later if Trump wants even more leverage. This is a horrifying revelation from Ignatius, that Trump was very, very close to greenlighting Tomahawk missiles to go to Project Ukraine. The Tomahawk missiles could absolutely hit Moscow and St. Petersburg. They could go very deep into the Russian Federation, and they could be armed with a nuke. Yeah, this would cross just about every Russian red line there is. I mean, the whole point of the special military operation was so that these types of strategic long-range missiles are not sent to Ukraine, right? That was the whole point of the SMO, these nuclear-capable missiles. And here we have the White House very, very close to green lighting Tomahawks to the Zelensky regime, because Trump is very upset with Putin, right? He feels like he's been played by Putin. Actually, Trump told the media that Putin is very tough, very smart, and he was able to outsmart Obama and Biden and Bush and all of these leaders, but he's not going to outsmart me, Trump said. Trump also told the media that he has great conversations with Putin, and he has great phone calls with Putin, and then he goes to the White House. He comes back home, he says, and he speaks to Melania, and he says, I just had a great conversation with the Russian president. And then Melania tells Trump, well, Putin just bombed a hospital or a school or a nursery or something like that, right? And Trump says that this upsets him very much. He feels like he's being played by the Russian president. I wonder if Melania says the same thing to Trump about Gaza, right?
Numerous times I'd get home, I'd say, First Lady, I had the most wonderful talk with Vladimir. I think we're finished. And then I'll turn on the television, or she'll say to me one time, wow, that's strange because they just bombed a nursing home. I said, what?
Anyway, this is a made-up story. Actually, Trump used the same story back in his first term with Syria, right? Remember the excuse that he put out there for launching missiles into Syria was that Ivana, what's his daughter's name? Ivana Trump, yeah. That she saw some sort of social media about what Assad was doing to the Syrian people, and it broke her heart, and that was it for Trump. He said, I'm going to launch missiles into Syria. So he's used this story before. You're not fooling us, Trump, with these made-up stories. Anyway, that's on a side note. The Tomahawks, what a revelation from Ignatius. Someone talked the Trump administration out of green lighting Tomahawks to Ukraine. My guess would be Vance. That would be my guess. The neocons were pushing for Tomahawks because the neocons, they want to hit Russia very, very hard. They understand that they're losing the war, they're losing the conflict, and so their only answer is to strike deep inside of Russia in the hopes that they rattle Putin and the Russian people. And that's their strategy now. Sabotage, deep missile strikes into Russia, whatever they can think up in order to shake the Putin administration and the Russian population. That's pretty much the neocon strategy. But thank God someone talked Trump out of this disastrous mistake. I just did a circle, man. Man, I just did a freaking circle. Oh, man. Anyway, let's go that way. So those are the weapons that are being talked about. But you know, we have no details on anything, to be quite honest. No real concrete details on this 50-day ultimatum and the weapon sales to NATO or anything. It's very, very vague and very shady. And I don't like shady stuff. And Kellogg, he's in Kiev and he's coordinating all of these things, which tells me that something wicked this way comes. Anyway, let's see. Let's see what else. I talked about Pistorius. I talked about Kellogg in Kiev. I talked about that yesterday. The cabinet reshuffle. Kellogg's in Kiev at the same time that Zelensky is reshuffling his administration. Right? Martial law was extended to the little dictator in a green getup. He got the parliament to extend martial law so as to avoid an election that he would most certainly lose. And as martial law has been extended and Zelensky will remain as president along with his entertainment lawyer Yermak and his good buddy Podolyak. Podolyak, we extend martial law. Very good, Mr. President, very good. We will stay in power a little bit longer, Podolyak? Yes, Mr. President. Anyway, he's now shaken up his administration. So my precious Shmigal, is no longer the prime minister. He's gone. He's actually going to be the defense minister. The new prime minister is going to be Srividenko. Remember her? She was the person who negotiated the amazing, we are talking the absolutely amazing, and very much talked about even to this day, a rare earth minerals deal with the Trump administration. She has now been promoted to the office of the prime minister, and she is a Yermak loyalist. She is very, very loyal to the big guy, Zelensky's entertainment lawyer, Andrei Yermak. And the current defense minister, Shmigal's going to be taking over for Umerov in the defense ministry. And Umerov is going to be sent off to Washington, D.C., where he is going to be the new U.S. ambassador. And the current Ukrainian U.S. ambassador, I don't know what's going to happen to her, but she was the person that organized. She's been blamed with organizing the disastrous Zelensky meeting at the White House when Zelensky got into a fight with Vance and Trump, for which Zelensky has never apologized to Trump, and for which Trump has completely forgiven Zelensky for, right? Zelensky never apologized for insulting Trump, for insulting Vance, for insulting the United States of America, and Trump, he's cool with that, right? He's cool with that. And he has forgiven Zelensky. Not only has he forgiven Zelensky, he is now promising $10 billion in weapons is the amount that's going to be sold to NATO, allegedly sold to NATO. And I don't know with what money NATO's going to buy that $10 billion in U.S. weapons. Anyway, he's now going to give Ukraine weapons. And yeah, that's the shakeup, everybody. Yeah. Trump was very upset with Zelensky. He demanded an apology, and Zelensky said, "I'm not going to apologize to you, man." And Zelensky didn't apologize to him, and Trump said, "Okay, Zelensky, you don't need to apologize to me. Here's $10 billion in U.S. weapons, which will be paid for by NATO, of which we pretty much control. No, we definitely control and fund most of NATO. So here you go." Churchill #2, Abraham Lincoln #2. So that's the reshuffle that's going on, and it's not hard to see what is happening. The Zelensky regime, they are consolidating power. Yermak is consolidating power. He now has his protege, his loyal Srividenko, as the prime minister, and Umerov, who was the chief negotiator in Istanbul, is gone. And so Zelensky and Yermak, they consolidate power. They remove people that were involved in the negotiations, the Istanbul talks. They get rid of them, send them off to DC. And there you have it. So forget about the Istanbul talks. You just sent the chief negotiator away. And you got more power in the hands of Andre the Giant. So that is what is going on there. And Zelensky extends martial law. So he remains dictator for another, I don't know, 3 months or 6 months or however long the martial law extension is. So I think we can get to some other news, huh? German defense minister says troops ready to kill Russians. That's right. Pistorius, speaking to the Financial Times, he said that the German military, they are ready to take on the Russian military. He told the Financial Times that if Russia thinks they can scare the German military, he said, just go to Vilnius. I believe he said Vilnius, where German soldiers are stationed. And you will see that the German soldiers are absolutely ready to take on the Russian soldiers. So Pistorius basically sent a warning, a message to Moscow. We are ready. We are ready to take you guys on. That's the message from Pistorius. Just go to Vilnius and ask the German military, and they'll tell you how ready we are. Peskov responded to this message, warning from the German defense minister. And Peskov said that Germany is becoming dangerous, he said. He said they are becoming dangerous once again. Finally, it looks like Russia is starting to wake up to the fact that Germany is trying to rise up, to act up, to start another big war. It looks like the Kremlin is starting to realize that this situation with Germany is not good. So let's talk about Lara Trump. Lara Trump is now saying that President Trump, Lara Trump being Trump's daughter-in-law, she is now hitting the media circuit, and she is saying that Trump is hearing his base. He is listening. He is hearing, and he's going to take action. He will be more transparent with the whole no client list Epstein thing. That is what Lara Trump is saying. So no coincidence. I talked about this a couple of days ago. No coincidence, no surprise that Trump did a softball interview with Lara Trump, preparing the way for her to run interference, let's say, to soften up MAGA and America first, right? You soften them up, you do interviews, you interview the president, then you go on to the media channels and you do interviews and you put out the message that Trump hears you, he's listening, and he is going to do something about Epstein. Most likely, some sort of a special counsel will probably be appointed. That would be my guess. I believe that's what Robert Barnes in our live stream yesterday, that's what he was saying should be done. Appoint a special counsel, give that special counsel independent, full power to go wherever the roads take them, wherever the roads lead to, and that's how you start to get some sort of transparency for this client list debacle, this client list cover-up. So that's what's going on there, and I think we can do a clown world, right? Yeah, I think we could do a clown world. And we will start off this clown world with stunning and brave Kaya Kallas. That's right, Kaya Kallas. She decided to make some statements about Trump's 50-day ultimatum, 100% tariff announcement. And Kaya Kallas said this was good. This was a good statement from President Trump, but she said that 50 days is a very long time, and she is urging EU member states to keep the pressure on Russia and to ramp up, to keep on moving, to ramp up more and more sanctions against Russia. Actually, this is a good clown world because we are getting reports that the European Union is already working on a 19th sanctions package. That's right. A 19th sanctions package. That is what the European Union is already working on. They've just passed the 18th sanctions package. And now that they've passed the 18th sanctions package, the 17th sanctions package. No, wait, 19th sanctions package. I'm losing count. Oh my God, what did I say? 18, 19? Anyway, 19th sanctions package. They passed the 18th sanctions package, and they're already working on a 19th sanctions package. I can't keep up with them anymore, guys. I can't keep up with the speed of European Union sanctions packages. It seems like one sanctions package is approved, and a week later we got another sanctions package. At this rate, by the end of the year, we're gonna be talking about 176th sanctions package. Anyway, that was what Kaya Kallas said. Let's speed things up to get to sanctions package number 19 and keep the pressure on Putin and his war machine. That's right, Kaya Kallas. Her exact words, because the media, they clipped her interview and they clipped her statement. She actually said 50 days is a very long time. It gives Putin another 6 months. I'm joking. I made that last part up. She did say 50 days is a very long time. She did say that. But she did not say it gives Putin an extra 6 months. I made that up. But I wouldn't be surprised if she said something like that. Oh, man. And finally, we will do one final clown world. And this has to do with the Ukraine Ministry of Defense looking for people. They are desperate to find recruits, to find soldiers. Actually, a Ukraine parliament member gave an interview the other day, and she said that all of this weapons talk is nonsense. It's nonsense. It's smoke and mirrors. What Ukraine needs is people. She said, we need people because we are running out of people. And anyway, the Ukraine Ministry of Defense, they are putting out a promotional video on social media. and they are trying to recruit people from Spanish speakers from South America. That's the way it looks from Anatoly Sarij. In this kind of dumb style and format, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense is inviting Spanish-speaking foreigners to die for Kiev. That's the video that they're putting out there. Very bizarre. Anyway, don't go and fight and die for the Green Goblin. Anyone that is actually considering it, don't do it. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. The Duran.locals.com. I have no idea where I am, but I will find a place to sit down and upload this video. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, free shipping on all orders. You will find the link in the description box down below. Take care.